Kamala Harris went under fire for attacking Trump. She has no compassion.
Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno. Joining me today, Fox Business anchor and host of American Dream Home on Fox Business, Cheryl Casoni, Fox Business correspondent Jerry Willis, Fox News contributor and president of American Spirit Enterprises, Tammy Bruce, and Fox News contributor and former Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris is launching an attack at former President Trump over his visit to Arlington National Cemetery last week. She wrote this, quote, "Donald Trump's team chose to film a video there, resulting in an altercation with cemetery staff. Let me be clear. The former president disrespected sacred ground, all for the sake of a political stunt." So that's what she wrote. But the former president and his team were there for the wreath laying for the 13 service members killed in the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal 3 years ago at the invitation of the Gold Star families. So now those families say that the only one playing politics with Arlington National Cemetery is the vice president.
Steve Nakui. I'm the father of Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nakui. And your administration killed my son.
It's been 3 years since my son was killed in action, and myself, my family, and other Gold Star families have not seen any support from you or your administration.
Your recent remarks related to Trump's visit to Arlington are filled with nothing but lies and deceit.
President Trump and his team were respectful. They listened to our stories and didn't talk much at all. We welcomed them that day, and they were comfort to our family.
Why did we want Trump there? It wasn't to help his political campaign. We wanted a leader. That explains why you and Joe didn't get a call.
We invited President Trump. Let me be clear. There was no politics discussed, none whatsoever. There was also not an assault that we observed take place, or did we hear it? I don't know where this is coming from, but it's disgusting and gross.
How do celebrities like Justin Bieber and The Rock generate hundreds of millions of dollars? It's actually not what you...
Now, we also received an explanation as to why those families filmed that video. Gold Star mother Kelly Barnett, the mother of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, explained to Fox why the families decided to post those videos defending Trump. Watch.
Why was it important for these families to put out the videos they did over the weekend?
Because we were just so tired. I mean, we've been disrespected so much in the last 3 years. It's been 3 years. No response from them. No, I'm sorry. No, we stand with you. We know it was a mistake. We know it went down wrong, because we know mistakes happen in war. This wasn't supposed to be war, but it turned out to be. And it was just important that, we let Donald Trump know, because he's been there for us. He's been our rock. He's been there for us to give us a little bit of peace and carry that grief with us for a little while. And that's what he did that day. He carried peace, yet grief with us, gave us a little bit of peace, a little bit of happiness on that day. And all the families, that's my family, the 13, we're all family now. And we had to do this because he's been there for us, and it makes no sense that they throw daggers at us. It makes no sense they throw daggers at him, except for the fact that they weren't there and they felt ashamed, or that we're angry that he was with us.
Yeah. Congressman, it was a powerful video by those family members, and the explanation, it just underscores their anguish.
Yeah, your heart just breaks for these families. 3 years, and it didn't have to be this way. And they invited President Trump, and it was not about making some political video. Why is Kamala Harris doing this? She had 3 years. She said she was the last one in the room that was with Donald Trump, or with Joe Biden, when they made the decision that cost these Marines their lives. And so for her to now politicize it by trying to say Donald Trump did something wrong, really? Are you kidding me? That is so fundamentally wrong. And I can tell you, I've had the great opportunity and honor of knowing Donald Trump. He does this a lot, and he does it from his heart. He doesn't do it with political fanfare and everything else. He does it for all the right reasons. That's why the families know this. That's why they invited him. That's why it was a solemn moment. They didn't just go for 10 minutes and they left. This went on for hours with these families. And hats off to Donald Trump, but these families, maybe we should believe them.
Right. And Tammy, the vice president is correct in that it is indeed sacred ground. And that's why that makes the criticism of her politicizing this and the questions surrounding it all the more troubling, because the reverence and sanctity with which we should be addressing these families, the heart and the root of the matter, the lost time of the last 3 years where this administration was absent from acknowledging responsibility or true condolences, that should be the focus.
Yes, and you heard that in some of the videos, that anguish, that pain of just never hearing their loved ones' names, never being contacted. But it's horrible in that it is sacred ground because people are dead because of political decisions. So those people are buried in those locations, those generally young people who should never have been there in the first place, not just from Afghanistan and Iraq, and Section 60, but all over the place, right? But of course, you've also got the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, all of that. But I have to say, these families had been quiet over these 3 years. Can anyone remember anybody coming out politically and saying anything? No. This is an indication, I believe, of the chaos within the Harris campaign, not anticipating the reaction to this, not thinking about the next day, maybe not even knowing the history of her ignoring and the Democrats ignoring these families. And this now is what is happening. It tells you the nature of what people have complained about her and her teams, that her general approach, which is just really winging it and not knowing what the next day will bring.
Such a great point. And Jerry, the argument is that the media then carries that ball forward, thoughtlessly perhaps, or simply knee-jerking supporting that. So we have, for example, NBC's Kristen Welker, who's getting criticized for falsely claiming that Vice President Harris did indeed meet with those Gold Star families when she did not. Watch.
They wanted President Trump there. They wanted to take those photos. You know who the families also invited? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Where were they? Joe Biden was sitting at a beach. Kamala Harris was sitting at her mansion in Washington, D.C. She was 4 miles away. 10 minutes. She could have gone to the cemetery and honored the sacrifice of those young men and women. But she hasn't. She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
Well, they did meet with them during the dignified transfer.
Because of
they were with them at the dignified transfer.
Her and Joe Biden's incompetence, those 13 Americans were killed in Afghanistan.
But crucially, Vice President Harris never met with those families. And therefore, NBC had to issue a correction. Writing on X, quote, "On our broadcast this morning, we incorrectly implied, I argue explicitly stated, that both President Biden and Vice President Harris attended the dignified transfer of 13 American service members killed during the Afghanistan withdrawal. Biden was in attendance, but Harris was not." We knew that, Jerry.
Well, that's right. So you can hardly blame Kristen Welker for saying this, what she said, right? She was called out by her own show. She was corrected, but it defies decency that they have not responded to these families, that they've had nothing to say. And it's been 3 years. And if you have not seen this video of the families talking, look it up on Twitter. It will make you cry. I can tell you, everybody on this couch right now has tears in their eyes watching this, listening to the families describe their pain and how they are so desirous of the White House to say something, to acknowledge them in some way. 3 years, what have we got? We've got a press release from Kamala Harris. And I think that's the most surprising thing about this, because I didn't expect one of her deficiencies here to be that she's not compassionate. But this is the story that tells.
Well, I will just say that no political party should politicize Arlington National Cemetery. It is sacred ground. I think this whole thing has been hard to watch. I appreciate that she put out her statement. Sure, he was on the beach on vacation. Let's be clear here. They are trying and making sure that they can distance themselves from that disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan. And that is why they stayed away. Now, they say, oh, we weren't invited. Well, former President Trump was invited. And I, too, have seen him, by the way, without cameras, with people, regular people. And he is very gracious. He is very generous. And it was not for any payoff whatsoever. I've witnessed that myself. I will say all this too, as well, that, you know, look, at the end of the day, she politicized it. It was her by going after the events that happened at the cemetery. The Trump campaign could put out the video. Let's see the video and put this whole thing to rest. And for these families, I absolutely understand why they are heartbroken, because they have been dismissed by President Biden. In particular, they don't want to talk about 2021 in Afghanistan. They want it gone.
Our prayers remain with those Gold Star families. Up next, hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagna.